Most adults are aware of the physical, emotional, and cognitive benefits of exercise. In this episode of COVID-19 and the elderly, we explore options for persons with limited mobility with fitness expert Cheyenne Daniels.
Alright, some of the benefits for exercises that actually includes your circulation, increased circulation. People who are semi-sedentary due to being challenged with the mobility, they actually can have circulation issues, they can have bed sores and so on. If they're actually bedridden or if they have to be in a wheelchair 24/7, then they could develop sores on the back and so on. So exercise definitely increases circulation, it increases the range of motion. So say for example, these persons, they have postural deformities, they have slumped shoulders, or they might have scoliosis or kyphosis, something like that, then their range of motion would actually be limited, especially for the upper body. It could be a position like this, for example, and they are not able to put their hands fully up or fully behind. Then exercises helps to increase mobility and flexibility of these areas, depending on how the training is set up. And this can simply improve, give them a better quality of life. Also make them more independent. Exercise makes you more independent, it makes you stronger, so you're better able to take care of yourself and manage just your simple day-to-day duties. You can fulfill them without having to be too dependent on anyone. It also increases your life expectancy, so to speak, because if you're getting stronger, you're getting more flexible. You should be getting fitter if you're working on cardiovascular endurance as well. And what this does, it also helps to increase cognitive function, so it makes your brain works better, and this once again also improves overall health and should let you sustain life longer. Persons with mobility challenges, especially if they're elderly, should avoid these particular types of exercises, and these are exercises that are high intensity, meaning that they are either too fast, pushing the heart rate too far, or too fast too soon, I should say. Also doing anything that is high impact, so to speak. For example, lifting heavy weights. Lifting heavy weights can cause more harm than good. It can actually let them experience back pain or experience more injury than actually be beneficial to their physical wellness. Medication should be taken at a certain time before exercise. Yes, and it should also be taken, most importantly, when prescribed by the physician. All right, what would happen, or what should happen, is that your exercise routine should always take into consideration what medication the person is on, if they're on any medication, and that's what's going to let us know if the condition is actually controlled. If the condition is not controlled, the person or the elderly person stands risk of getting injured or developing serious issues as a result, meaning they could have a heart attack or a stroke, or they could faint or collapse, simply put, because their blood sugar probably got too low, stuff like that. So you want to ensure that if they have a chronic condition and they are on medication, that the condition is definitely controlled. Exercises that should be avoided by the elderly are high impact exercises like using a treadmill at a very high speed, stuff like that, doing like high impact activities like burpees, doing anything at too much of a high intensity, because the risk is pushing their heart rate too high, especially if they already have hypertension, basically. So you want to avoid doing exercises like that. You want to avoid doing exercises that force them to be lifting very heavy weights, whether it's their body weight, if they can manage it, or if it's actual weight, meaning if they have dumbbells or so on, actual weights, or if they are going to improvise and use water bottles for weights. Safety during exercise. Safety is very important during exercise, and this is because depending on the person's mobility challenge, especially because they're elderly, you want to bear certain things in mind, like your environment for training. The environment has to be conducive for that person's limitations. So for example, the person is in a wheelchair, then you should have adequate ramp space and railing so that they can hold on to effectively do the exercise. You'd want to set up the place so any possible equipment being used as well, such as resistance bands or weights or water bottles, that they're in they're in decent enough reach so the person can actually help themselves and efficiently do the exercise. So it's very important to know that things you should do as an elderly person for exercise. A simple prescription would be to get at least 2.5 hours of endurance exercise, cardiovascular exercise per week. That's roughly ½ an hour per day, and that's really just to ensure that your endurance keeps increased, right? Apart from that, you're required to do strength training. Strength training is done twice per week, and it's basically dependent on the person's activity level and what they can actually do, right? The strength training can be done with either resistance bands, water bottles, or actual weights if you actually do have weights. And the exercises can be dictated based on the person's abilities. For example, if it's somebody who is an amputee, depending on what is amputated, they could be doing upper body exercise with the upper body limbs, or they could be doing squats or lunges or so on with the lower body exercises, all right, with the limbs, with the legs. They can do 1.5 minutes of vigorous exercise. This includes jogging, for example, and this is once again dependent on the person, because if you're elderly and one of your conditions is having some respiratory issue, then you won't be able to do any form of high impact activity like jogging, so to speak. All right, so some of the exercises that we can do for the elderly with mobility challenges, you can do still make use of the upper body. That's the important thing about exercise. What we want to do is we want to ensure that our functional areas, we improve and maintain functional ranges of the body, increase and improve the strength of the body as well. So if the legs are not working, we still use the upper body. We can do bicep curls with water bottles. If you have resistance bands, you can use resistance bands or actual weights if you have weights, right? So we can still work the arms by doing bicep curl. We can do one at a time. This would be a concentrated curl where the hand is just on the inner thigh and we bend the elbow like this. So we could do concentrated curls. Say for example, you have an issue with the back, so you can't bend forward like a slip disc or so on. You can ensure that you have a nice firm backrest. Ensure that you have space here where you can bend the hands up as well. You can do one hand at a time. That would be a unilateral exercise. Or you can do both hands at the same time. And that would be a bilateral exercise. You can do straight arm raises or shoulder flexions. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's a simple example. We can do concentrated curls as well. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's it. We can also do strengthen the shoulders, doing shoulder presses. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we can also do lateral raises for the shoulders. Bring the hands up to the sides, right? 6 more, 5 more, 4 more, 3 more, 2 more, last one. So those are the main exercises that we do in terms of cardio for the upper body. That's an example of strength training. In terms of cardio, what we can do, we can keep the same light water bottles and we can punch the hands forward or we can punch the hands up, alternating. These are light cardio exercises. Or what we can also do for cardio is just running motion. So we'd sit to the edge of the chair if you can manage. We just punch the elbows up and back, just like running, right? Just like when you're sprinting or jogging. And this can be, if it's done for over like 40 seconds to a minute, it can be considered as light aerobic activity just the same. All right, so this is one other form of cardio that you could do. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, we would have stretching for flexibility. For flexibility, stretching would be either passive stretching, meaning you could go to a physiotherapist or a massage therapist for stretching, or you could do your own stretching, which is called active stretching. Now, this is where we can just focus on stretching the major body parts. And so you put the arm across the chest and pull. And this is stretching for the shoulders. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go over to the next hand. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll put the hand over the head as well. Pull the elbow back. Reach down as far down the back as possible. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next side. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And those are very nice stretches for the upper body. Stretches the shoulders. If you want to stretch your neck as well, put the hand on the opposite side and pull. And these are for stretching the neck. Next side. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands under the chin. Push up and back. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands just behind the head. Pull down. Tuck the chin into the chest. Tuck the chin into the chest. Nice. So you basically stretch on average for 5 to 10 seconds depending on the stretch that you're doing, especially if you're warming up. It's basically 5 to 10 or 8 to 10 seconds that you can stretch for. This increases your mobility. It allows them to be able to move more freer and in a more wider range.
Getting regular exercise irrespective of age or mobility status is critical for the maintenance of good health. You can engage in regular activities by participating in online classes or calling up friends and family and doing exercise activities together. This has been COVID-19 and the elderly. Thanks for watching.